The bank manager's voice dropped when he said my name, like he was afraid the walls might be listening. Ms. Carter, he said, eyes flicking to the glass office door. The funds were withdrawn 3 months ago. All of them. I stared at the screen between us, my pulse steady in a way that only came from years of training. $500,000. Gone. The gift my Aunt Lorraine had left me before she died, her final act of defiance against the rest of my family, reduced to a zero balance and a tidy list of transactions that didn't belong to me. That's impossible, I said calmly. I never authorized a withdrawal. He turned the monitor so I could see. Digital signatures. Scanned IDs. Two-step authentication approvals. Clean. Professional. Too clean. Someone had gone to great lengths to pretend to be me. I drove home through the gray November drizzle of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, my mind already working the angles. I wasn't just a victim. I was a cybercrime investigator for the state. I spent my days tracing fraud rings and unraveling identity theft cases. I knew the difference between a random hack and a personal job. This was personal. When I pulled into my driveway, my sister Megan's white Lexus sat crookedly in front of my house. She'd never been good at parking. Or subtlety. Designer bags littered her back seat, price tags still swinging like trophies. Inside, my mother Diane was setting the table for Thanksgiving like nothing in the world was wrong. "Tracy," she chirped. "You're late. Megan's been waiting to show you something." Megan bounced toward me, phone already in her hand. "Look," she said, shoving the screen in my face. "Booked the Maldives for New Year's. Can you believe the deal I got?" I could. Easily. My gaze slid from her phone to her watch. New, gold, obscene. To the shoes. To the coat. To the life she couldn't afford on her consulting income. "Nice," I said. "How'd you pay for it?" She laughed too quickly. "I've been doing great lately." I looked at my mother. She wouldn't meet my eyes. Dinner was loud. Forced. Turkey carved, wine poured, lies passed like side dishes. Every time Megan laughed, something inside me tightened. I'd spent weeks reviewing server logs, IP addresses, metadata trails. The forged signatures came from a device registered to an address I knew by heart. My childhood home. After dessert, I stood and cleared my throat. "I need to talk," I said. Diane sighed. "Can it wait?" "No." Megan rolled her eyes. "What is this, an intervention?" "In a way," I said. I pulled my laptop from my bag and set it on the dining table, pushing aside the pie. The room quieted. Screens don't lie, and everyone in that room felt it. "I was gifted $500,000, I began. "That money was stolen." My mother stiffened. Megan scoffed. "Are you accusing us?" "I'm stating facts." I clicked a key. A timeline appeared, logins, devices, locations, highlighted in red. "The withdrawals were authorized using my identity," I continued. "But the access came from this IP address." I turned the screen. Diane's face drained of color. Megan stood abruptly. "This is insane." "Sit down," I said, my voice cutting through the room like wire. I zoomed in. The signatures were forged using a scanner connected to Mom's printer. The authentication texts were rerouted to a phone on our family plan. Megan's. The room felt smaller, the air thick with old secrets and newer greed. "You don't understand," Diane whispered. "We needed it." "For what?" I asked. "For her," she said, nodding toward Megan. "She was drowning." Megan's voice cracked. "You didn't even need the money." I laughed then, sharp and humorless. "You decided that for me?" My father, long divorced, long silent, rose from his chair. "I'm calling a lawyer." "You should," I said. "So should they." Megan lunged for my laptop. I snapped it shut. "I already turned everything over," I said. "Before I came here." The words hit like a gunshot. My mother collapsed into her chair. Megan stared at me, eyes wild, calculating. "You wouldn't," she hissed. "We're family." I picked up my coat. "You stopped being that when you stole from me." As I reached the door, my phone buzzed. A message from the state prosecutor. "We found additional transfers. And Tracy, there's more. Another identity involved." I paused, hand on the handle, the weight of it settling in. This wasn't just theft. It was bigger. dirtier. And it went deeper than I ever imagined. The prosecutor's office smelled like burnt coffee and old carpet, familiar territory. I'd spent years on the other side of that glass, handing over digital autopsies of crimes that ruined strangers' lives. This time, my own family sat in the evidence files. Assistant DA Miles Harper slid a folder across the table. "We traced the additional transfers," he said. "They didn't just stop at your inheritance." I opened it. My mother's name appeared first, then Megan's, then another. A name I hadn't seen in decades. "Who is Evan Brooks?" Harper asked. My breath caught. He was my father's nephew. Supposedly. Harper leaned back. "Turns out he's Megan's biological son." The room tilted. "No," I said automatically. "That's not possible." "He was born when she was 17, Harper continued. "Your parents claimed custody, raised him as extended family. He's 22 now, and his identity was used to move funds offshore. Hidden child, hidden account, hidden life." Suddenly the puzzle snapped into place. The extra identity, the burner phone, the layered laundering. Diane hadn't just helped Megan steal from me. She'd built an entire shadow infrastructure to protect her golden child and the secret that could have destroyed their image. Thanksgiving wasn't a confrontation. It was a crime scene. The arrest warrants were executed 2 days later. I wasn't there when they took Megan in, but I watched the footage later, her screaming on the front lawn, designer heels sinking into wet grass, accusing me of betrayal like justice was a personal attack. Diane didn't fight. She looked small in handcuffs, older than I'd ever seen her. Evan, my nephew by blood, my cousin by lie, was picked up at his apartment in Philly. He'd thought he was helping his aunt with tech work. He'd been paid in guilt and silence. He asked to see me. We met in a conference room at the detention center. He looked terrified, young, and used to consequences. "I didn't know it was stolen," he said, eyes red. "They said it was family money." "It was," I said. "Mine." He nodded, swallowing hard. "She told me you wouldn't miss it." That hurt more than the theft. Court moved quickly. The digital trail was airtight. Timestamps, device IDs, location triangulation, forgery charges, wire fraud, identity theft, conspiracy. Megan's lifestyle collapsed overnight. The Lexus was repossessed. The trips canceled. Sponsors vanished. Diane took a plea deal. Megan didn't. She glared at me across the courtroom during arraignment, her eyes screaming the same thing she'd said at Thanksgiving. "You didn't even need it." I testified anyway. Not emotionally. Precisely. I walked the jury through the architecture of the theft like I would any case. No drama. No family. Just truth. When the defense tried to paint me as vindictive, I looked straight at them and said, "Justice doesn't change its standards because we share DNA." The verdict came back guilty on all counts. Megan was sentenced to 8 years. Diane got 4. Evan received probation. After the sentencing, I stood alone outside the courthouse as snow began to fall, soft, quiet, cleansing. My phone buzzed. The bank had restored the recovered funds. Not all of it. Enough. But the money felt different now. Heavier. I used part of it to pay off my mortgage. I donated another portion to a nonprofit that helped victims of identity theft rebuild. I set up a scholarship in my Aunt Lorraine's name. Something real. Something clean. The rest I left untouched. A month later, I received a letter from Evan. No excuses. Just accountability. He was enrolling in night classes. Learning who he was without lies. I wrote back once. Truth has a cost. But so does silence. I don't have a family anymore. Not the one I grew up believing in. What I have instead is clarity. And peace that doesn't depend on pretending. Blood didn't save them. And it didn't break me either. Justice did what family wouldn't. And for the first time in my life, I slept without looking over my shoulder, because there was nothing left to hide.